Okay, welcome to this next lesson where we're going to look at inserting these internal walls here that separate the living from the bedroom and the bedroom from the laundry bathroom as well. There are some differences about these internal walls. If we have a look over here in our wall description, we can see that the external walls are made by 90 by 40 F8, whereas the interior walls are made from a smaller cross-sectional size timber, only 70 by 35. And the reason for that is that those walls, these internal ones here, are not bearing the load of the roof. The roof's actually not sitting down on top of them, therefore they don't need to be nearly as strong. So that's one difference, is their thickness is only 70, and we can see that displayed here in the dimensions there and there. The other information that's given to us is the distance between walls. So if we have a look here, we can see we've got the thickness of the external wall being 90, and then a distance of 3950 from that internal to the next internal, and so on. So you've got to read these dimensions off the elevations and off the floor plan to work out where to put them. The other thing we'll notice is that the internal walls won't have wood siding on them. They're probably going to have the same material or coverings that the internal of our external walls had, which was, I think, plasterboard rough or something like that. Okay, so let's jump back to Archicad and let's go to walls. There they are there. Let's open the wall info box and let's change a few things for the internal walls. First thing we'll change, well, we'll leave the height the same because it is the same height. But we're going to change the material. Instead of it being timber structural, because it's not going to be load bearing, let's change it to timber stud. And if I get the change, good. Second thing we'll change is the thickness of the wall. So it won't be 90, it's going to be 70. Everything else here will stay the same. The only thing we'll change is the model. The surfaces in the model. So remember, we're not having the siding on the inside. So let's change that to plasterboard white rough. So click in the box, type P for plasterboard, P white rough. Hooray, finally got it. And if you can see, once that first one is selected as plasterboard, if you click on the chain, then the other three will also become the same covering as the first one. Last thing to change before we do anything else is to change the layer that these walls are on. They're not external walls, therefore they can't go on the external wall layer. Click on the arrow, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see that we have a layer walls internal that we can choose from. Click onto that, and you see it changes it, and click OK. Okay, so we're going to insert one wall going across here. To do that, we're going to be using the single wall insertion method, which is just that single wall like so. But we need to know a distance from another feature. So if we just quickly go back to our floor plan, and let's use this information. Let's start on this left-hand side here of this wall, and let's insert it in that position. Now we look at the dimensions. It tells us it's 3950 internally from the internal surface of that wall to the internal surface of that wall. So if I could measure 3950 from there to there, start the wall there, then put it in, that would be the correct position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, while I'm in wall insertion method, I'm going to hover my cursor over the internal corner of that wall. You notice when I do that, the computer puts a snap point in there, or a snap guideline, I think they call it. What that basically says is if I move my cursor away, you see that a blue lines, or lots of blue lines, could be arcs or straight lines, appear. And you can see it's guessing that I want to do something with that line, or I want to know something a distance away from that original point. So if I move my cursor away, and you see that the distance becomes available to me. So I'm just going to type D on my keyboard. And the distance was 3950. I'm confident that was the distance I want to move in that direction, up in that Y direction. Hit to the Enter key. And then as I move my cursor away, you can see then that's actually used that point to start the beginning of that wall. Now, very important here to remember that walls have a reference line. So at the moment, as I drag that to the right, you can see that the big black line, which is the reference line, is on the bottom, which is correct. If that was the wrong way around, so if I go this way, and you can see that the reference line is actually it's at 3950, but the wall's inserted on the wrong side of it, you could change that reference line by clicking on this button up here, which actually flips it around. But that's in the right spot, so I'm going to simply then zoom out, come across here, and at this point I'm just going to extend the wall past the actual building. I'll show you why in a second, and make sure it is angle 0 and click once to finish that off. Then I'm going to trim this wall back, so there's a little trim command here, you can see it there, trim, click on the trim, turns into a set of scissors. Once you've got the scissors over the wall that you want to trim back, click onto it and it trims it back to that other external wall like so. Let's have a look at that in 3D, and you can see that the wall is now being inserted into the correct position. Let's double check